Hello, and welcome to the podcast. Every moment is sacred, where we interweave meditation and healing into everyday life. I am your host, Rain Elizabeth Stickney. Now, let us begin. Dating and relationship coach Becky Ringler joins us today. We are so lucky. I am so happy to share this conversation with you. Becky is a delight, and she is also the author of Reeling Him In, the essential guide to manifesting your perfect guy. We discussed this book in this fun and meaningful episode. There are also some links in the show notes so you can reach out to Becky. You can find this book, you can enjoy it, you can discover all that she is up to. Together, Becky and I visit topics of manifestation, law of attraction, play, self-love, letting go, the power of dreaming, and holding life experiences with positivity. Becky is the owner of Simple Kona Beach Weddings, where she plans, coordinates, and officiates custom weddings on the beach in Hawaii. She is a certified law of attraction coach and holds a BA in communications from Northwestern University, as well as an MA in counseling psychology from the California Institute of Integral Studies. That's where I met Becky, actually. We were studying expressive arts therapy together. Mindset is the core of Becky's work, and she has a thriving life coaching practice. I am so excited to share Becky's delight at how wonderful it is to find one's life partner or mate or special person, or however you hold that journey for yourself. She loves love, and she loves supporting people and finding that special someone, as well as staying with them through the long term and in a really happy way. I have so much gratitude for you being here with us today. Thank you for your presence. And if you would like to share gratitude with me on a daily basis, I have a daily gratitude practice called Redwoods and Snow. In the show notes, there is a link to how you can join that practice. And I also would love it if you could rate, review, subscribe, or follow and share this podcast or episode. It's so wonderful to feel your support because I am doing this for you. I'm doing this for me, for all of us. These episodes are to spread the wise words of healing and love and presence, creativity, playful attitudes in everyday life, and what the benefit of living that kind of life is, even through and especially through hard circumstances. We all have difficulty sometimes. And I enjoy being a voice that says, yes, you can do this. You can get through. You can get the help you need. You can live the life of your dreams in a really good way. I welcome you to reach out to me anytime, healing@rainelizabeth.org. I respond to all of my email. I'm happy to do so, and I look forward to hearing from you. Here is Becky Ringler. Enjoy the show. Let me know how you like it. What are your best takeaways? And ready, set, go. Hey, Becky.
Hi there.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here. It's so fun to reconnect with you after so much time.
I know it's been, I don't know how many years, almost 20 years, maybe like a really long time. But
Yeah.
is it been that long? Anyway, I'm so glad to be here and to reconnect with you and not just see you on Facebook, but to be talking with you today. It's really fun.
It's a funny role that social media has where we get to have this light connection over time, and then we get to dive deep for a moment, like right now.
Yeah, it's very special.
So I was delighted to learn a little bit more about the book that you wrote, Reeling Him In. And I want to hear even more about it. But first of all, the title is a pun.
Yes. Yeah. And I always worry that people think that I don't know how to spell, but clearly it's reeling him in, Realing, because you're essentially reeling, Reeling. You're reeling him in by reeling him in. In other words, the idea is that you're making your ideal partner so real that he has to vibrate into your life. And so this is a manifestation book, and it's all about playing. There's a lot of play in my book as well. And it's really about playing and getting clear and having fun with what can be a challenging and arduous process at times. Wrenching, all the things. So yes, it's reeling him in, the essential guide to manifesting your perfect guy. Although certainly you can change the pronouns to fit you. I wrote it from my personal experience as a woman seeking a man, but it is applicable to all.
Well, I love the premise of somebody being real, really themselves, and reeling their person in. And perhaps their person is also real to themselves, like really embodied in their realness. And so, what a wonderful attraction that is when it happens.
Yeah. And I think, the reason this was so important to me is that when I was dating, and for those of you who haven't read the book, which is probably most of you at this point, I dated probably for about 18 years before I met my husband. And I really was terrible at following any quote rules or doing the things that you're supposed to do. I was always really me all the time. And, I kept sticking to the premise that if I'm not myself, then the person who falls in love with me is not going to fall in love with me, but somebody that I'm pretending to be. And that seems silly to me. And so, although that led to more heartache in some ways, at the same time, it also led me to some real, true love stories along the way to meeting my husband, who is, I feel like, my ultimate partner, because I was not afraid to really be me and to let people in and to see me and to be loved. And I also feel like it allowed, I don't feel like anyone did even though I was heartbroken many times, I don't feel like it, in a way, it encouraged people to be better, their best selves with me, because they're like, and that was usually too much pressure for some people, or if they were just a terrible batch and we were not a good fit with each other. But I feel like the breakups were never like, oh, she doesn't matter, I can just walk away or ghost her. Like, I don't think I was ever ghosted ever, which is kind of a miracle if you think about it. And I feel really grateful. And I really feel like I credit that to just for the fact that I was so authentic, that it was hard for them to be that. Like, how could they do that? That sounds really narcissistic, but sort of like it's hard for someone to be that mean to someone who is being so genuine. And so it's almost a bit of a protection, even though certainly a lot of people don't want someone who's genuine or are too afraid to be with someone like that. Or you realize right away you're a terrible fit with each other because clearly you're being yourself and that is not a fit. You're not a fit together. So it's all good.
There's a lot of meatiness and juice there in everything that you just shared. And two things that draw me in. One, about your husband. I'm actually so excited to learn more about, how did you meet your husband?
I actually met, and this is a funny thing. So in the introduction to the book, I talk a little bit about this, but we actually met on Yahoo Personals, which does not exist anymore. This isn't like the old days of the internet dating. I feel like I started internet dating when internet dating was invented, like way back, like in the, there was no swiping or anything at that time. And we met on Yahoo Personals, which is not where I was typically meeting people, because Yahoo Personals is more, I feel like, a less serious app, like, or dating thing. Dating, it was a website then. It wasn't really an app. It was a dating website. Like Match.com was a dating website at the time. There were no apps. And for whatever reason, we just immediately hit it off. And we messaged back and forth. And I was actually like dating like 3 people casually at the time. And after we met and messaged the first time, the next night I got home from a date and I was like, I'm still thinking about Matt. So I'm going to message him. And then I'm like, let's just talk. Like, I'm sick of all this messaging. I want to hear your voice, because if I don't hear your voice, like once you hear someone's voice, that can also be an automatic no or yes. And I just loved his voice. And then we talked every day for like 3 hours. And then he's like, we need to meet. And then we spent like 5 days together with little breaks. And it was very clear that it was just a really, really good fit. So, I mean, during all that process, there are ups and downs, right? There's little things that go along with it, but it felt like, okay, this person is not afraid of me. Like, I feel like I always felt like if I want to call you, I'm going to call you, which is not how you're supposed to do something, right? You're supposed to wait and play hard to get. And he was like, I was so thrilled that somebody wanted to talk to me that I liked. Like, that was exciting for me. And so that was clearly a good match, right? Because that's my personality and that matched his personality. And so it was good. So, as we like to say, the rest is history.
Or her story.
Or her story, right? Because it's my story. So
it is. Yeah. Yeah. You have always come across as very bubbly for me. And I remember back when we met at the California Institute of Integral Studies, and your energy and enthusiasm, and also cunning wit and keen intelligence has impressed me. I've always looked up to you for all of those things. And so I can imagine if you want to call somebody, of course you would call somebody. What else would Becky Ringler do? You were Becky Leonard then, but
yes.
Yeah.
I definitely, that was not like the only time I ever played hard to get is when I really wasn't interested. Like, I wasn't playing, I just did not want to be gotten. And by the way, that does work, but I felt like it was such a waste of time. Like, I don't want someone who that was just like time waster for me. I just wanted like, hey, you like me? Great, let's get on with it. That's a very like I feel like in my family as well, we're just really forthcoming. And that was just I feel like just putting it out there. Then, really quickly, by the way, if someone likes you or not, very fast way, instead of dragging it out over weeks or months, it's like, oh, so it speeds up the process. If you're just, no, I'm not suggesting that you air every, piece of yourself immediately, but why not just shine through with who you are? I feel is really, I know that that's not everybody. If that's not you and you're more shy, be shy. I mean, that's also okay. You don't have to be me. I'm just saying that in my case, I was just being me, which is a lot at times for people. So, yeah.
And likely just right for Matt.
Yes, totally. Perfect fit. So, and I know and I feel like this is, well, we'll get to it later, but I definitely, the story, there's a story along the way of our dating that fits into this, and I think kind of speaks to how important it is to feel really comfortable in yourself before you really find your and so we can
right.
talk.
And that is a key element of your book, as I understand it. Self-love, really knowing oneself, really coming from an embodied place of, this is who I am. I'm going to love myself completely while I look for my mate or dating partner or whatever it is I'm looking for, but it's going to come from love.
Yeah. Yeah. And in fact, I was just telling you before this call that I had just reread my book before our call, because it's been a while since I've read it. And so it's interesting because the first chapter is all about celebrating all the things that you like, realizing you're amazing, and then listing all the reasons why you're amazing, all the crazy things and the weird things and the great things and the, all those things. And the book itself is written in a very playful way, because I think sometimes, and by the way, this is not everybody's style, but I feel like for some people, they really want this, but they want it. I look at this almost as like an enjoyable game to love yourself and to attract your right partner and to really play with that and celebrate that. And, when you make the lists, I want you to like put glitter on your page, or, well, maybe not glitter anymore, but you know what I mean? Like whatever you can paint it, I want you to feel so good about who you are and to realize that all of those things are things that somebody is going to love. And some people are really good at that. they realize that they're a great catch. And other people, I think we as women often feel like it's maybe not so great to look at all the things that are like, and to talk about what's so great about ourselves, right? So that's kind of like men are good at that. I feel like in general, I'm making a generalization, but I feel like men are taught to really like, I'm good at this and I'm good at that. And like, it's okay. And I feel like societally, it's not as encouraged for women. That doesn't mean that you're not. I just feel like feels a little more awkward to celebrate those things. And the whole point is, though, with this is something you're going to write. You never have to show it or talk about it to anybody else. It's private for you, but it really helps you feel all those good feelings so that you can love and value all the qualities of yourself, especially if you've had people maybe in the past tell you those things were bad. It just depends on what relationships you've been in. Sometimes it hasn't been okay to be yourself, and you just happen to be in a bad relationship with somebody who puts you down or whatever it might be. And this is to remember that you are amazing and that you can celebrate you, and it's safe, because the way that you do this is just for you. And it's a safe place to celebrate and love yourself too, which I think is also really important. So yeah.
Yeah, that rings true for me. I had a very significant and wonderful relationship with a man for 5 years, give or take. And we did not work out. He was not the one to spend the rest of my life with, but he was somebody who I had a very significant relationship with. And something that really bothered him about me was that I was so kind. And he really wanted me to pull more of the bitchy card. Like, he wanted me to be more of, there's a certain personality type that's like, I'm going to tell you what to do. I'm not going to tell you like why I want you to do it. I'm just going to expect results. And I don't have that personality. It's not, it might come and go, but it's not true for me. But now, many, many, many years later, my life partner, he loves how kind I am. It's a great asset for our relationship. It really works for him. It works for us. I get to be myself. We get to have that love feeling. But it took somebody to appreciate the kindness.
And that's so beautiful. And I love that, that's the thing so much. I feel like when you're with someone who wants you to be someone that you're not, it makes it really hard. It's like I dated a guy all through grad school who hated it when I wore makeup. He didn't want anyone to look at me. He didn't want to, it's not like I wear that much makeup to begin with. Like I live, for those of you that don't know, now I live in Hawaii. It's a very but I didn't want to be told how I should be or what made me feel happy. And it wasn't that I was wearing makeup because I felt like I was not attractive or that it made me attractive. It just made me feel more of who I am. Right. So that was just, and I kind of felt like he wanted me to stay plain, because then I wouldn't stick out and nobody else would look at me except for him. And that crazy. Or we're at a party and he didn't want me to talk to anybody else. And I am a really social person, and that drove me insane. And in fact, when I first got together with my husband, he's very social also. We went to a party, and I remember thinking we were off talking to other people and we'd wave across the room. We both had a great time. And I thought, I'm with the right kind of person for me, because we both felt so happy in that environment. We certainly came together and talked, but we were both secure enough to let the other person just go and talk and be. And I think finding whatever that is for you. And if you just like to sit and be quiet, that's also, it's great. Then find somebody who loves that about you. Those are the things. And now, like, you should be more outgoing. If you're not, like, that's a terrible thing to tell somebody who's really shy or quiet. It's like the worst thing you can tell them. So I think the contrast of when you're with somebody and you realize, oh, they're wanting me to be somebody that I'm not, is really good information to know that maybe this is not the best. Even if you love many things about them, I think it's always a good, kind of like a good note, like, okay, I like this and this and this about this person in our relationship, but long-term, I don't get to be who I am. It's not the best fit. So it's good contrast.
Contrast is a good teacher.
Yeah. 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 And then I feel like it adds to the list of things you do want in a partner, right? And so, like, for you, Rain, it was someone who really appreciates and loves your kindness. I can't imagine anybody not liking someone who's kind. So that,
yes.
so weird.
Well, we all have our quirks, right?
Like, I mean, and then there are people that are a little more edgy and they need someone who loves that about them. That again,
Mhm.
that's also okay. I mean, we're all different people. So yeah, anyway, that's,
Yeah.
I think those are all fair things. And anyone listening, by the way, none of this is a judgment on your personality. We're talking about our personalities. So embrace
Mhm.
what you are and you will find your right. I feel like you'll always find your right mate there.
Mhm. So, circling back to something that you said earlier, Becky, about when a person is very genuine, and one version is it can make it really easy for everyone else to be very genuine with them or just not participate. And there are some people I know in my community who have the experience of being very genuine and also receiving a lot of hardship in their dating life. And having a continual question of what is going on here? Like, how am I perpetuating a pattern for an unknown reason? And Becky, you and I met studying psychology and the expressive arts. You're also a marriage family therapist. So this could branch into the realm of psychology, but just in your experience, your knowledge from your book, your all of your wonderful moments in your life, what do you think could be happening for someone who's like, I am being me, I am genuine, and I'm not receiving that back from the people that I'm dating?
It happened to me all the time. So, like, I mean, all the time. And I had friends that they'd get married, or I'd like date somebody and then they would get married right after dating me. And I felt like, I'm like, why am I having this experience? Like, I'm being me. I know I'm a great person. Like, what is this? And I think that is a very normal thing. There's nothing wrong, quote unquote, wrong with you. I also think that the more genuine you are, the more people you're going to go through, because a lot of people don't know how to be genuine or even how to be with somebody who's genuine, honestly. So I feel like there are fewer genuine people out there. And so it
Mm-hmm.
takes a little time, but also you get the benefit of repelling people that are not good for you very quickly. Like, if they're not a good match, you know pretty fast that they're not good for you. Or like, well, I can't be who you wish I was. Like, because I was always seeing the best in the person and imagining them and holding them up to this, like what I saw was their light. And for some people, that's exhausting because it's too hard for them to be that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's also okay. Like, it sucks when you're going through it. Of course, it is terrible as the receiving end. But the other thing, though, that I feel like when that kind of pattern happens, there is an underlying, so if we go sort of shift over to not only the psychology piece, but a law of attraction piece, underneath it all, there's a belief in there somewhere that it's either hard to find someone who's genuine, or there must be something wrong with me. Is this going to be the same thing? Good men are hard to find. Like, all these like little messages, right? And so, and in my book, there's a whole section on shifting those and recognizing, because a lot of times those are unconscious thoughts that we have. We don't
Mm-hmm.
even realize because of experience, right? We have experiences that tell us, oh, people don't like people like me, or is this going to be another one of those things where I get my heart broken, or like all these things. And then it perpetuates a similar cycle. Not your fault, but you can help your journey forward by recognizing any negative thought patterns. And that is there's a game in my book, and it's a really easy, it's sort of like a cognitive behavioral kind of thing where you put a rubber band around your wrist, and you catch yourself or saying or thinking kind of some kind of negative thought, and you snap, and it hurts a little bit. And you say cancel, and then you're
Oh.
with a better thought. So if it's like, good men are hard to find, snap, and you're like, ow, okay, not so hard that it really hurts you. You don't want to leave a welt, but enough so that it shocks. It's supposed to break up the wiring in your brain, right? And then you say cancel and say, I am so lucky that amazing men always come my way. Whatever it is, you can come up with a positive statement. And again, one of the exercises in my books gives you lots of examples about how to do this, how to recognize those things, and how to even structure the positive thought after that. And you don't have to do that for sometimes a couple months, sometimes a week, it just depends on you. but it helps disrupt the wiring in your brain and recreate a new pattern. And
Mm-hmm.
that is the idea, especially if you're pretty far along the path of loving yourself, of being very comfortable in who you are. And then you're like, where are the men? And then the idea, of course, is to really create a picture of who this person is,
Mm-hmm.
how they are, how they would treat you, how it feels to be with them. And in other words, making them so real, the energetic version of this person so real that they can and then vibrate into your existence. And you don't have to know the how. The how part, we never have to know the how. The how would be impossible to orchestrate. Plus, if you think it only can happen X way or Y way, you could walk past the perfect person because you're not paying attention. Like it's just being open and saying, I trust the universe to deliver to me because I'm clear. And when you're in the vibration of having that beautiful relationship with somebody and that beautiful vibration about how you want to be treated and how it feels, if you can imagine already being in that relationship and walk around in that bubble of feeling, you will attract like energy into that. And that's a very large topic, but it's like sometimes it's just a little tiny thing that you don't realize you're doing that just sort of gets in your way. And then remember, it takes some time. It's not going to be like, sometimes it's tomorrow or like later today, but most of the time it can take a little bit of time for the universe to sort of orchestrate all the situations.
Wow, Becky, what a great response and answer. And let me go through that exercise because I actually haven't heard of that exercise before. So you put a little rubber band like around your wrist, and then so I'm doing it and I'm thinking, oh no, there's nothing for me out there. And I notice. And so I snap it and I
Yep.
feel the little tingle or
Yep.
sting or whatever it might be. And then I replace it with a better thought like,
Say
there's,
cancel, right?
oh, say cancel. Okay.
Yeah.
So snap, cancel.
Mm-hmm.
There is so much for me out there. Everything I want and need is coming to me easily.
Yes. And then the other thing that I didn't say about this, and this is also something you want to anchor that good thought into your body somehow. So you can like you can make like a fist pumping gesture. You can like clap your hands. You can do like whatever feels good for you.
Mm-hmm.
To you can hit a point on your thigh, like anything. It's sort of it's an anchor. So when you have a good thought, you want to anchor that feeling so that way, if you need to bring that feeling, you can make that gesture or touch that spot and it will bring back also the good feeling. So
Mm-hmm.
forgot about the anchoring part when we were talking about this, but
Mm-hmm.
my wrist is still sore. Don't snap that hard. I was practicing. And if you do, then you're like, oh yeah, I don't ever want to do that again or think that again. So it does have to sting a little bit, but you don't want to leave marks on yourself. Or this is not
Mm-hmm.
about self-flagellation. It's about just breaking a thought, breaking a pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
but yes. Okay. So
So let's go a little deeper into the manifestation. I'm so glad that you are bringing this in. And something that I feel curious about is a practice of manifestation that I know of from the way that I was raised has a part in it about letting go, a part in it about detachment. And I wonder what your wisdom is about that piece in the manifestation process.
that is so important because you want to put it out there. So there's a whole series of exercises in the book, and generally speaking, where you want to put the energy out there, you want to feel certain things, but the attachment to how it comes or when it comes or if it comes, for that matter, you have to
Mm-hmm.
be willing to just trust. That can be really hard. This is not about it. The tighter you hang on to something, the harder it will be for you to have it. I know that seems so strange. It is about the detachment, hopeful, happy. I love to say, wouldn't it be fun if, like sort of creating this, like a little bit of almost like when you're a child and you're dreaming something and you're allowing the universe to create and to play without restriction on you. I mean, other than, for instance, like if I say like, oh, like, wouldn't it be fun if I won $50 million? assuming it comes from a joyful way, like no one can die, or like you can set restrictions on certain things, like, and I mean like no one gets murdered, no one has to give their child up, like it comes to me in a joyful, positive way, right? So you can set some parameters if you want to, but otherwise, like whatever, because you can't, we as people cannot think of all the crazy ways that people could come to them. For instance, in this case, like you manifesting your mate. My mom said to me once when I was lamenting, like I said, she'd say, Becky, I really think that the person for you is married to the wrong person right now.
Oh,
And I say, well, that seems crazy, because how can they be for me if they're married to somebody now? And she's like, I don't know. I just feel like you just bide your time. Well, it turns out that my husband was married to the wrong person at that time. I didn't know him. He lived states away. We'd never met. We didn't come into contact until after he was divorced. But ironically, he had been dreaming of someone like me, and his relationship was miserable. And he thought, what am I doing? This is not at all what I wanted for my life. And so they got a divorce. And then we found each other. He couldn't believe it, because it was what he had been dreaming of, imagining. And it was kind of a weird, but I couldn't have put that, like, yeah, the guy I'm going to marry is dating, married to the wrong person right now. And I didn't have any attachment to it happening that way. I didn't care. I just wanted the right person for me, right? It didn't have to be that way. But the point is that search situations and circumstances, we can't ever imagine how they're actually going to come about. But if you know the feeling of what you want, and you know the qualities, and you trust that you are being who you want to be and genuine to who you are, then the rest, allow the universe to work its quantum physics and help you.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know if that answered what you were asking, but I think the detachment part, you have to do your part, but then you kind of have to, the hard part is releasing the outcome, like releasing attachment to the outcome, which feels counterintuitive sometimes, doesn't it?
Yes, it is counterintuitive, because why not hang on for dear life to what is truly desired? And there is some of that, because I find that tenacity is in the clarity.
Yes.
What I really want is be tenacious there, hang on there. And then the letting go is however it happens, I'm available for it.
Yes, that is the clarity part. And in fact, there is a whole thing. This is something when I reread my book, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about this part. One of the things that I talk about in there that is a really subtle thing too, is that a lot of times when people, and I know you were metaphorically speaking, like I really want X, but when you actually do an affirmation, you want to leave want out of it, because then process of wanting, right? Instead of having. So it's like, like you write it in the present, like I have a man, or my ideal partner is kind and sweet. Not I want a partner who's kind and sweet, but my ideal partner is kind and is. And, or whatever it is. You could even just say, my husband, if you want to be married, my husband is the sweetest man in the whole world. He's so funny. You can talk about it like it's actually happening now. And as if it is fact, not that you're wanting, quote, want, even though, of course, yes, of course, we want, if you're single, you do want those things, but the wanting out of it, and you put it into the having, it creates a whole vibration. So that's
Becky, I'm so impressed. I think that you found one of my blind spots, because I didn't even realize I said that. And of course, hearing you reflect it back, I'm having the realization of that is the way to do it, to speak in the present tense. And it's actually true, because that man is kind, or whatever the case may be, because he does exist. And so where wanting is wanting, manifestation is about being with what is and allowing what is to come forward in a really good way.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful way of putting it. And that it takes out the barrier, because when we're wanting, it leaves us constantly in a state of want. And like you say, that person does exist. They are truly in the present tense this way. And so we're just allowing a bridge for like, oh, my perfect husband is this way. Oh, well, my perfect woman is this way. Oh, here we are together. Oh, we see each other. And then you can come together instead of, yeah. And by the way, it could be that you were intentionally doing this, like you as a person attracting your ideal mate. They may not know any of this stuff. It doesn't matter. As long as they are the way they are, they don't have to know how they're doing it. It could just be. So
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
can forgive them if like they don't need to know, oh, I was also imagining, like it could happen, but it might not be. It doesn't matter as long as they arrive at your doorstep and or however it happens, you bump into them on a bus or at the grocery store or on a
Mm-hmm.
plane or whatever it might be. So
Mm-hmm. Yep. So many ways, so many possibilities of how to meet somebody.
yeah. Yeah. And of course, I have this wedding business here in Hawaii, and I have married people of all ages, first marriages when they're 70 something. I've married people late in life, or they had a relationship and then they got a divorce, or it didn't work out and then they had another one, or I mean, amazing love stories. And I feel like there's nothing more reaffirming than seeing people who thought that they were never going to find someone again, or ever get married, for that matter, get married.
Mm-hmm.
And it's beautiful. And if marriage is something that you want, I can promise you that it happens every day. And it's really beautiful with real, like genuine, beautiful love stories. So, and it can happen for you. So I know that sounds for you too, but really, but it can. And I think it's just a matter, I know sometimes it can feel tiresome to be waiting, you know.
Yeah, it really can. I know some people who are having that experience right now, or varieties of that experience, wanting to be with somebody and not having that person, and wondering, even openly, when or if or how. So I love that earlier you used the phrase, if it comes, speaking about that special relationship. And if we fill that out more, if we go just a little deeper into everything you just said, anybody can find their mate. That is true. And for those who aren't sure if it's going to happen for them, what more can you give to them?
All I can say is that I think the biggest key, like I reached a point finally in my dating life where I was like, you know what? Probably I hadn't realized that I wasn't truly comfortable like being alone because I always wanted a partner. But I finally reached a point where I was like, you know what? I have an amazing life. I have a career I love. I am really interesting and I'm fun. And you know what? I would rather be alone and happy with myself and travel the world and have interesting liaisons with people that I meet and have great experiences than be married to the wrong person. And once I
Mm-hmm.
got very comfortable there, of course, then my husband sort of walked into my life. Well, I was actively doing things, right? I was actively looking. But at the same time, I wasn't holding tight to that anymore. It was almost like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say I didn't care, but it was
Mm-hmm.
like, I feel fine with this. And I think I was sharing with you the other day, I'd gotten so fine that a few months into our relationship, I was with my husband in the car, and he was like telling me the story that his grandmother on her deathbed said, I don't want you getting married for at least a year after you've been divorced. And I'm thinking to myself, whoa, like who said anything about marriage? Like you're making a lot of assumptions that you're thinking that I'm thinking that I want to marry you. And I just said to him, and I don't think I would have said this earlier had I not reached that place. By the time I was dating him, I just said, well, look, if you need to go like sow your wild oats or something, I only want to be with somebody who thinks I'm the best thing since sliced bread. I just want a man like who loves me that much. And, I found love before, I can find it again. So take your time if you need it. And he was like, but I do think you're the best thing since sliced bread. And it was like the sweetest thing ever. He's like, can we just forget we had this conversation? Can we like do a do-over? And I was like, yeah, we can do a do-over. But at that moment, I was like, okay, this is the person I'm going to marry, because if he can, I had no expectations. I thought he might be like, yeah, well, it's over. Like, I don't know, but I felt so worthy of love in that moment that I thought, I don't, if he's not going to love me or be with me, then I don't want to waste any more time. I think I said that too. I said, I don't want to waste my time. If this is not real for you, then I need to move along, because I'm not going to. And it was such an empowering feeling to not worry about that. And I was already totally in love with him. And it was very empowering to feel like I could walk away. And not that I wouldn't have been sad, but in that moment, I felt like, no, I deserve the best. And I think that if you can reach that point and feel that full, that you're going to be happy whether you have a partner or not. And B, usually that kind of confidence and feeling that good about yourself will have people flocking to you, and the right people, because people that don't want someone confident are not going to come to you, right? So I think that the key in that part, when you're feeling kind of like exhausted, maybe like this will never happen, is to really say, you know what, this is time for me to let go for a minute and to just sink into what makes me happy. How can I fill my life? How can I be happy in the relationships that I do have? Where do I find my joy? And you're not closing out. I certainly didn't close out the possibility, but I just realized that I wasn't holding on to the need for that anymore. And I don't know, for me, that is what made the difference, honestly. So, and then I met my husband. We were married. We were both 34. I'm almost 50 now. But I definitely know women in their 40s and 50s who have never been married or never found their right person. And sometimes people are busy, like they don't have time. They never thought about it. They were busy in their career. And all of a sudden they're like, wait a minute, I forgot that step. And that's also okay. So I don't know if that answered your question, Rain, but I hope it helped maybe light on that.
So much light. Yes, you're shedding so much light. I had this thought when I was looking more and more into your book, and you're on some other podcasts as well. And I started to have this thought about the book Reeling Him In. And could it be that this book is also useful for people who are in a relationship, perhaps a long-term relationship, and they want to continue to reel him in, meaning that we're growing and evolving people. And how wonderful is it when we both choose, me and my partner, for example, or two or more people who are in relationship with each other, when people choose to grow together and continue to be their best selves and their real selves and honor the realness of the other person. So I started to wonder, is this book helpful for people in relationship as well?
I hadn't really thought about it ever in that context, but it absolutely could be. Sort of shift the exercises to being already in a relationship, but that doesn't mean that you don't want to celebrate all your good qualities, right? So things that you are or are becoming, especially you can use it to manifest together. So there's a whole section on creating, like you create a day where you're like, as if you like a journal entry, as if you were on a date with this person. But say you as a couple want to create an experience, like you both really want to go to Italy and have whatever on the Amalfi Coast, and you're not quite sure how you'd have the finances or how that would happen, but you could write that together. You could each write your own version of that, or do something. Or if you're having trouble in your relationship and you decide that you want to create a better outcome for a certain situation, you could there's so many exercises that can be adjusted for already having. So instead of like essentially reeling him in from afar, like that kind of reeling, it's like reeling in your best relationship together, as it is now. And I think most of the things can be like, especially the rubber band thing. Say you're even just like, oh, I hate it when he blows his nose really loud and then, snap, cancel. I love the fact that when my husband blows his nose, it reminds me that I have a husband who loves me and he's here with me.
Oh, wow.
Right? So there's a way to change, like to change things into, like to realize that, okay, this may annoy me, but this also means that I have a partner here that is annoying me, that I love. And then you can feel grateful instead of annoyed by that thing. So there's lots of ways to use these techniques that can be transmuted depending. I like that. And also just the making yourself and your relationship continually more real too. I think it's really, I hadn't thought about that. That's really, but yes, the answer is yes, Rain.
Well, I love that example of the nose blowing. And I don't know why, but it just reminds me, oh, I know why now. It reminds me of the time in my life where I did a lot of dating, and I enjoyed it, actually. I enjoyed dating. And I also really wanted a partner. I really did. I longed for that person who would know me over time and I would know them, and perhaps we'd have a family or not. But there's something about that specialness of connection over a length of time that I longed for. And what I would do is I would often go to bed alone and remind myself this could be the last night I'm alone. I better really enjoy this. That's what I want to share, is that I chose to really enjoy cooking breakfast by myself, or having people come and go from my life, or being able to choose when I go grocery shopping, or all the mundane things that is true of a single life. And I can say now, as a partnered mother, those things are not true anymore. There's a level of chaos that I live with just by my lifestyle of partnering and having a family. But when I was single and dating, there was a level of freedom that could be felt as lonely. And I did feel lonely sometimes, but it could also be felt as joy because there was so much space and freedom. And I chose to enjoy it while it was there, because I was aware that if it ever shifted, it wouldn't be there anymore.
Yeah, that is so, and that's actually where that's part of the it's so important, like whatever state you're in, to recognize, because like the nose blowing, right? If you live alone, you don't have to, or it's a roommate, you're like, well, they can move out or I can move, like whatever. But if it's your partner and it's someone you love and then they're doing something that's just whatever, something like a behavior that is irksome, it's not like you don't have the same freedoms that you did when you didn't have anyone to worry about but you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and at the same time, that's the trade-off, right? So you have this beautiful partner and the beautiful relationship, but when you're single, I love the fact, and I did that too, come to think of it, and that was sort of where, like, you enjoy the fact that you can do whatever you want and you can make whatever choices you want and you don't have to consult anybody else. And there's something fun about that and empowering and beautiful in that part. And so when you do partner with somebody and you do find that person, you give up one thing for the joy of another. And it's actually not giving it up. It's shifting, right? It's shifting. If you have a good partnership, it never feels like you're trapped all of a sudden. If you feel trapped all of a sudden, like in a really bad way, you're in a in my opinion, you're in a bad relationship. It should always make you feel like, I feel like with my husband, I feel like he brings out the best parts of me. I feel more like me when I'm with him than with any other person I was ever with. Or like, I feel like my family brought out the best in me. And I was looking for someone who I could feel that comfortable with, who helped me shine, just like I helped him shine. And that to me was really important. So when you are, although you do give up certain things, right? At the same time, you gain something else. So enjoying where you are is really important. That I feel like is the really big takeaway from what you just said. And I love that you said this could be, that's also kind of fun. That's still a game. Like this could be the last time. So let's just enjoy this. And then it creates also a little bit of a, like, I don't know if I really, like if someone is coming for you, it creates, without you meaning to, creates a tiny bit of thing like, can they really get you when you're not playing hard to get it all? You're just comfortable and happy in yourself. So she's like, I
So
don't know.
true.
I don't want to give this up. It feels good.
Well, there's so many more ways I could take this relationship, my relationship with you, Becky, this conversation about relationship. But what more would you like to share if I just hand it over to you?
I think the fact that, it all starts with, recognizing that you're not at the mercy of life. Like you have more control over that. You get to choose. We always have the choice to be grateful for whatever situation we're in. And we always can make new choices. So if you think, oh, I'm stuck in this situation, or I'm in this situation, or this will, no, that's not true. You can make a choice at any moment to change your life. And the first step, though, comes with choosing yourself, choosing what makes you happy, realizing how wonderful you are, realizing all the qualities in yourself that make you special, celebrating that, and then opening yourself up and getting really clear on who would make you feel the happiest. Like, I don't mean who, like specifically who, like a person. Maybe for you that is a person, but most of the time we don't know, right? Sometimes you think, oh, that person over there, and then you meet somebody. My husband always says, I thought I was in love with my ex-wife, and it's like the tiniest speck on the spectrum to how I feel about you. Like, we don't know what we don't know. So just, if you can be deserving of, realize that you are deserving of all the love in the world and all the most amazing things, then the universe can say, well, why didn't you say so? Because let me, get that, order that up for you. And if you need a guide, I do feel like my book is very helpful. It's very fun and very playful. And it does use a lot of law of attraction techniques along with some psychological techniques to really help you be you and attract that right relationship and create something really real. And Rain, like you said, if you want to use it, if you use it to get your mate and then you want to use it later to like, hey, we could do this together in our relationship, let's see how we can adjust it. You can do that too, because it definitely does fit after a conversation. So, and as somebody who dated like you dated a very long time, and I had a ton of heartbreaks, and seeing all the people that I marry every day, a beautiful relationship, I promise you, is I feel like there's somebody for everybody. And, my great aunt, Eleanor, didn't get married until she was 60. So in love with, they were just a beautiful relation. They had such a beautiful relationship. But, I always remember thinking like, well, if it could happen for her, it can happen for anybody. Not that there was anything wrong with her. She was just very, like, for her time, she was very empowered.
I think that you mentioned how you have that empowerment as well, that you have been a very empowered and outgoing person in your life. And sometimes that was not a right fit for another person because not everybody wants that. And it's marvelous that you are the way you are. It's marvelous that you are empowered, that your aunt or your great aunt.
Great aunt.
Your great aunt. Yeah.
And that definitely runs in the family. It is on my mom's side, a very long line of very outspoken, strong women. And I feel very grateful for that. But I also, again, feel like it's so important for people that are like, maybe think that they're too shy for something. And I feel like there are people that will just adore you for your shyness or adore you for all the things. And there's the perfect energetic match for however you are. And you're never too much or too little. I feel like for the right person, you're just right. Like Goldilocks, like you're just looking for that, this is just right. Like, so and I don't think there's anything wrong. You don't have to put yourself or force yourself into a puzzle where you don't belong or think that you're doing something wrong. The whole point, and even if someone looks amazing on paper and you think I should really, really love this person and you don't, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with you. If you don't feel it, you don't feel it. And that's all disappointing as that may be at times. But I think it's always the smart thing to realize what you deserve and what's important to you, because it will come. Yeah.
It will come. I also love the word worth that you used earlier, that we're all worthy of what we're desiring. We're worthy of that partner. We're worthy of the relationship that's really going to make our dreams come true or be another step in the dreaming of our lives.
Yeah. And I feel like knowing that value and appreciating that just makes everything, I feel like that's the key. And when you hold your worth, all the other stuff tends to fall into place. Everything else that you do will become easier. I think that's the key starting point, is knowing your value, knowing your worth, and treating yourself accordingly. So
thank you for that message and reminder. It's so heartwarming, and it's simple, right? Like, remember, we are worthy. Remember, treat yourself accordingly. We all can treat ourselves accordingly. These are simple lessons and they're so profound. They run deep and they're also a great elevation.
Yeah. And I know, in fact, this made me think of a little side tangent. I have a gal who was in a group coaching that I was doing. She was dating herself and she was taking herself out to dates and doing things that she would like a partner to do for her, and so that she could bring in the experience of what, even though she didn't have that person was not in her life yet, she thought, well, why don't I give myself these experiences so that I can feel what it feels like to be treated by somebody. And that's a great, by the way, little side note about how you don't have to do that if you don't want to, but was a really fun way of her celebrating her value and like, this is how I would like to be treated. I would like to go here. I'd like to take myself out to coffee, or I'd like to, but she was treating even things that she considered everyday activities as something of worth, and what she was doing was nourishing. And so, yeah. side note there too.
Well, I like that side note, and I feel the miracle of it when somebody treats themselves with such kindness and consideration and really having that vulnerability to both give and receive what one really wants. How beautiful.
Yeah, and I'm so glad I've had a chance to chat about my book today and just in
Mhm.
general, my work. And I mean, I'm a huge, having been a therapist in California and then a dating and relationship coach, and I do a lot of mindset coaching as well. My main focus is ironically my wedding business, but I do still coach. And mindset and the law of attraction is a huge part of all of the work that I do, because I feel like it starts there. It starts with how we're thinking and being in the world. But regardless, love is at the center of everything. And we can just start by loving ourselves, the rest becomes easier. So,
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. And to give people some context, not only did we meet studying psychology, but also the expressive arts. And so the playful spirit that you embody is so fun to be with today. And how do you want people to find you? I'm sure they can find your book. What do you enjoy in terms of people coming toward you?
so I have a couple of different ways. So obviously my book is on Amazon, Reeling, Realind, Reeling Him In, The Essential Guide to Manifesting Your Perfect Guide. It's on Amazon. I also, and Rain, I know you might have a link for that somewhere. And I also have two different websites. One is enhanceyourmindset.com, and that is just in general, life, business, mindset coaching in general. And then also the lovesenseicoaching.com. And that's mentioned a lot in my book. That was something when I wrote my book back in 2015, it actually got published officially, finally, just over the 2016 mark. But regardless, I had a very thriving coaching, dating and relationship coaching business at that time. I still do coach people for that. It's just not as much as I take only on a few clients of each, but I do love working with people in this context, especially people that are interested in working with play and working with the law of attraction. And I like to have a lot of fun when I do this kind of coaching. So that's really key for me. And of course, if you're thinking about getting married, my business is Simple Kona Beach Weddings.com. So that's another way you can find me. So these are all ways, as well as on Instagram and Facebook. And I could probably give you the links if people want to, they can contact me there too. And I just in general I'm always happy to hear. I have a lot of women who have read my book, and some of them have gotten married as a result of reading my book, which is really cool. I feel always so grateful to hear from people as well. So
Thank you for all of that information. And to wrap up, I have two questions for you. What are you grateful for?
oh my God, Rain, I could go on for days
Mhm.
about the things that
I
I'm
bet.
grateful. I actually talk, every night I say, and my husband and I play a little game, especially if either of us is having not the greatest day, we're like, okay, 10 things you're grateful for. And I will say that I always say that I am just grateful that I feel like I'm living my best life. I'm grateful that I live in Hawaii. I'm grateful for my husband and my cat. And I'm grateful for my family. And I'm grateful for this opportunity to talk with you and connect with you. And I'm grateful for love and being able to feel love, put love back out into the world. I feel grateful just for all the beauty in the world. I know there is what we focus on, we attract, and there's always light and shadow. But I feel like if you shine the light on the shadow, then there's nothing to be afraid of in the shadow. So I'm grateful for the light. And there I could go
Yeah.
on and on. But
Hmm.
sorry, I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's there we go. That's some.
I heard once that the light is what creates the shadow. So there's the object, but without the light, there wouldn't be a shadow.
And so that's so funny because both are true, right? Because
Mhm.
without the light, there wouldn't be the shadow. And yet also the light is what can illuminate the shadow. So
Yeah, it's so fascinating.
yeah,
And about love, what is healing about love?
boy, that is a whole thesis. But I feel like in general, to me, love heals everything. I mean, it's like if you can love even the hardest things, or love a situation that is difficult, it becomes not as hard. I know that sounds so weird, but it's like, okay, you look at, and you're having a situation that's difficult. Kind of like, honestly, let's think about your situation when you were single and you were lying in bed and you were alone, and you'd say, you know what? You could either be lonely and miserable and sad that you're in bed alone, or you could decide to love the fact that you're single right now and you get to enjoy this moment by yourself, because eventually that may change, or that did change, right? But you decided to embrace the love in that moment. And then the whole thing shifted. It's just where we put our focus. But I feel like love can heal any moment. It can also transform any kind of relationship. I had a roommate once who didn't like me very much. And I had 5 roommates, and she was not nice. And I decided that I was going to pretend that everything, that she loved me, and that everything that she said was a positive thing, even if it wasn't. And I kid you not, I behaved that way no matter what she said. And we started to like each other. It was the weirdest thing. So that was like an experiment. I was like, I'm just going to pretend like she really likes me a lot. Like she loves me, and I will respond as in kind. And it is really hard to continue to be mad at somebody who is loving. So that is, I think love is just a big healer. It is just really hard it's like the most powerful force in the universe. So
I agree. And I can totally see you doing that, choosing to see everything as love and being a part of the transformation.
Yeah. And by the way, it's not like it had to be a conscious choice, because I tell you, sometimes it's like all your buttons are pushed and you're like, but it becomes fun. If you can decide like, okay, this is really hard, or this situation's hard. If you can just imagine love washing over the situation, even if I have a bride who is upset about something, and I usually know it's not about anything I've done, it's just a very stressful situation. And I think I'm just going to love this person as much as I can. And whatever it is, always melts away, because it's not ever about, love is the key. So, yeah. And it's a conscious choice. I mean, hopefully it becomes second nature, but you can always consciously say, wait a minute, I can transform this with love. So let's see how it goes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much for being here, Becky.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been so much fun, and I'm just feeling really honored, and it was fun to talk about this today. I feel my vibration is up and around. Oh. I feel so much love back and forth. So I hope people listening feel the love too. So we'll send you out some beautiful sprinkles of love as well.
I feel honored too. And yes, I agree. Your vibration is completely loving, and I enjoy you so much.
Oh, thank you, Rain. I agree. And I feel like you guys, we can see each other, but we can't physically hug. So I'm just going to like send a hug across. Oh, yay.
It's the virtual hug.
Well, thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you so much for listening. It has been a great joy to have your presence here in this podcast. I welcome you to celebrate the joy and wisdom in your life exactly as it is. And I welcome you to feel loved, fully loved, exactly as you are. www.rainelizabeth.org